Welcome to the Bottle Poppin' Podcast, where Meg and Heather share their love for oils, friendship, and entrepreneurship. Let's get it poppin'.
Hey everyone, this is Meg.
Hi there, this is Heather.
And we are the Bottle Poppin' Podcast. So Heather, what are we popping open today?
We're going to pop open a conversation about dogs and essential oils.
Yes, this is one that we've had a lot of people ask for. I'm excited, but also I feel like this is our most researched podcast just because obviously neither one of us are vets and we don't want to stray people wrong. But thankfully we have some really, really good resources that we're able to rely on. And then both of us have experience using essential oils on our pets, specifically our dogs, since that's the type of pet we have.
Yes. And this podcast, we will specifically talk about dogs because that is our experience. So if you are curious about other animals and oils, use the references that we're going to refer to, and you can kind of see what information they offer for other animals. But dogs is what we're going to specifically talk about today.
Yeah. Okay. Well, where do you want to start?
So let me think. Out of curiosity, what was the last oil you used on your dog?
Well, unfortunately, through our research this morning, I found out what I used on my dog I shouldn't be using on my dog. So I don't even know that I want to talk about it. No, I will talk about it because I'm human and I'm sure other people have made this mistake. But I used Correctex. Is kind of like a Neosporin, but with essential oils. And our dog Hannah right now has a spot on her back that we have been dealing with for like over a year now. It started out as a hot spot when we left her at a boarding place that got infected. And so I took her to the vet. They put her on antibiotics. It cleared up. And then like 3 months later, it came back. And so like we've been going through the cycle over and over and over again. The last time, probably about 4 months ago, we took her to the vet again. And they actually like shaved a big area around it, drained it. We felt like it was finally better. And like in the last few weeks, it has come up again. And so in the past, I have made a salve that worked really well. And I will now today go make that again for her after finding out. But I just thought, you know what? I'll use Correctex because Correctex works awesome for humans and healing. And through our research, found out it has tea tree oil in it, and tea tree oil shouldn't be used on dogs. And so I will not be using that anymore. But the thing with the salve is, I'll tell you about this healing salve. So this healing salve, it's easy to make. You just have to have the ingredients. And I happen to have all the ingredients. So it is really simple. So you take 8 ounces of coconut oil, not the fractionated, so not the liquid coconut oil, but the actual one that gets solid when it's at room temperature or colder. And then 1 ounce of beeswax, and you melt that on a double boiler at a low heat and just melt it enough to have the beeswax melt. Then take it off the heat. At that point, you can add 2 drops of vitamin E oil if you have it. That part's totally optional, but definitely good for skin and healing. And then you add in 10 drops of lavender oil, 5 drops of myrrh oil, and 3 drops of helichrysum oil. And mix that all together and put it in either a glass container or a tin jar. So like I normally put it in a mason jar. And you just want to store it in a place where it's not going to melt again. So in a cooler place, a dark place, that type of thing. And it works so well. The key is you have to make sure you wash your hands before you put your hands in there. So the recipe actually says that it's good for 1 to 3 years. Every time I've made it, one of us has used it, so put it on our hands to apply to Hannah, and then somehow gotten bacteria in there, and then mold grows in it. So that's the key, is wash your hands really well before you put your hands in there. Otherwise, you will have to throw it out. But that's what I will be making this afternoon to, again, try to treat the spot that we keep on having issues with. It's so frustrating, but I'm grateful for oils because definitely like the antibiotics are great when you need them. But long term, they cause all kinds of GI issues. So if we can do something like this to support her body and healing this tiny little spot that if it's not healed, will continue to grow, it's awesome to have this option.
I don't know that you mentioned the reference book that you got that recipe from. Can you say that? Because that was one of the references that we were going to mention.
Yeah. So it's called Spoil Your Pet, and it's written by two, at least one vet. So it's Mia K. Frezzo and then Jan C. Jeremias. I might not be saying that right, but I will say this book has good information, but as a reference book, it is so frustrating to use because it's not in alphabetical order. Like, I don't really understand why they put it in the order they put it in. So it's really hard to find things in. So I don't know that it's the best, but it's what I have. And I have used a few different recipes from this book.
The other reference that I want to make sure that we mention, because we've both gotten a lot of information from this just individually when we are looking up things for our own pets, as well as while we were researching for this podcast, is an excellent reference is Dr. Janet Rourke. She's known as Essential Oil Vet on Instagram, and I think that's her website as well.
Facebook as well.
But she shares a lot of really valuable information. She's spoken at doTERRA's convention quite a few times. And so we've each found a lot of research through her, and she speaks on all animals, not just dogs. So if you have a question about another animal, use her as a resource. You can find her on those different platforms that we said, and she's a really good resource as well.
Yeah. And I'll say she has a membership, and I've heard really good things about that. And I think she even does some type of essential oils for pets training, and you can like become certified, something along those lines. I haven't looked into it, but I've heard really, really good things about all of that. So check that out as well if you really want to dive into this topic. For you, Heather, what is the last essential oil you put on your pet or used around your pet?
So I put Digestin on my dog's underside belly the other day because he is, I don't know what's going on with him. He recently had blood workup that everything came back fine, no issues. He has suddenly, in his old age of 1.5 years, gotten really choosy on when he wants to eat his breakfast. And so he sometimes will eat it as soon as you put it down in front of him. Other times he may not eat until lunchtime or even an hour before we usually feed him for dinner. He eats twice a day. The other day, he had not eaten breakfast and he went out into the backyard, and I saw that he was throwing up bile in the backyard. And he's done that before if he's exercised in the morning and he gets overly hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. His belly, I don't know what he's doing, but I went ahead and just put I had the roller of Digestin. So I rolled it on my hands, rubbed my hands together, and then just rubbed it under his belly just to try to calm whatever he had going on. He eventually ate this morning. I don't know. I put his food down in front of him. He ate right away. I have no idea.
Yeah, poor thing. That's frustrating. But again, just so glad that you had the oils.
I feel like, yes, I'm glad I have that. And there's a lot of other oils that we use. But when you talk about urgency of wanting to have an oil nearby, helichrysum is one that totally came in handy on the spot one time. And I've posted about this before on our Instagram page when we did the podcast on helichrysum. But his nail got cut too short and it would not stop bleeding. That quick just bleeds a lot. And so we had helichrysum, and we had not been able to stop the bleeding, applied that helichrysum, and within minutes it had stopped. And so I was really excited to have that on hand right then.
That's awesome. Yeah, the helichrysum has definitely helped us in the past. I'll say as well, the time where I was the most grateful for oils, this wasn't an emergency situation like that, but my dog before Hannah, Hugo, he was a Labradoodle and he was ginormous, and he had all kinds of hip problems like big dogs tend to have. And later in life, he developed arthritis. And this was something that I got from Dr. Janet Rourke. And it is using frankincense along his spine. And specifically, when you put oils on a dog on the spine, put it in your hand. And then because he was a large dog, I did not need to dilute. In general, you want to dilute for dogs, especially smaller dogs, but put it on your hand and then go from the base, or not base, what would that be? Like from the tail up. So you're kind of going against the way the hair goes. That way you're getting it closer to the skin. So I applied frankincense. That helped specifically with all of his joint pain. But then also I added in wild orange. And wild orange helped from an emotional standpoint. And so she explained that anytime an animal is in pain, they have a lot of fear as well. And it causes fear and anxiety and that type of thing. And so the wild orange helped him get out of that fear space of like, why am I hurting so much? And so it's like addressing both the physical and the emotional aspects. And it made such a difference for him. And for multiple years before he finally passed away, we used that. And every time it made a huge difference. And I was so grateful every time to have something to easily apply. Again, like even for animals, the being touched is therapeutic as well. So petting him with the oils, it just really was beautiful. And I was so grateful to have something like that to give him.
Well, and you mentioned that he was a big dog, but depending on the size dog, dilution can vary. And so again, you can find dilution charts in different animal reference books, and or Janet Rourke has a good one as well. Make sure that you're diluting appropriately. If you have a little teacup dog, you are going to dilute very differently than a 90-pound dog.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about internal use for dogs. So essential oils can be used internally. Just like with humans, you want to make sure that it's an oil that can actually be used for internal use. So the easy way to tell that is to look at the label and see if it has a supplement fact on it. And then when you're using for pets or for dogs, for small dogs, I would only do 1 drop. And for any larger dog, it would just be 2 drops. So still minimal amount. And you want to mix it in with their food, like their wet food, or mix it in their water. And then I wouldn't do hot oils. Would you do hot oils with a pet or just totally avoid those?
No, I personally would totally avoid them. And honestly, the only oil that we've ever done internal was my old dog was suffering with lots of inflammatory issues. And so I tried to do 1 drop of copaiba in his water. I'd also tried in his food. And at the time, he wasn't eating or drinking very much anyways, but he still wanted nothing to do with it then too. So after that experience, I personally feel like applying topically and or diffusing is plenty good enough that I don't see myself using internal for dogs.
Yeah, I agree. There's just easier ways to do it. And diffusing is a really easy way. So we diffuse a lot for our dog based on what she needs. But I'm specifically thinking about times when there's fireworks, which are just terrifying for dogs. But using oils or diffusing oils like Adaptive or Balance, like they really have a big impact. And so a lot of times on the 4th of July or New Year's Eve, we'll start diffusing it a few hours before the sun goes down to just get it in the air. And it makes a huge difference. We'll apply them topically as well if we need to. And then with Hannah specifically, we'll get her like a special bone or something. So the minute that they start, we give her something to distract her as well. But I feel like starting the diffusers early and getting it kind of just in her body where she's already kind of chill makes a huge difference.
I completely agree. And I feel like the 2 that we've used most commonly for just keeping animals calm, dogs, when either fireworks or when we've watched my sister dog and we're going to keep both dogs home alone for a little bit, is Balance is probably the number 1 that I use, or lavender too. And I'll apply it topically, like you said, and then start diffusing before the time so that we have time for it to set in. I've also made a little spray bottle before and just kind of sprayed it where I know they're going to be, either like an hour or 2 on their bed before they're going to be laying there, just so that when they do go lay there, they get a little bit of that aromatic property as well.
Yeah, that's super smart. I hadn't thought of doing that. I do have a funny Balance story. So I love the smell of Balance and often will kind of use my personal perfume. One time I had a bracelet on that was made out of the lava stones. And so they're really porous and a good thing to put essential oils on and just wear it as like a diffuser jewelry. And so I had a bracelet on, I had Balance on, and then I went to a friend's house and she had a really cute little dog, but I was sitting there petting it and the dog like would not leave my bracelet alone, wasn't chewing on it, but was like rubbing on it like it was catnip. It was the funniest thing. The dog would not leave my arm alone because it just wanted to rub up against the bracelet. And she's like, what is up with your bracelet? Like Balance oil. your dog really needs some balance oil right now, apparently. It's so funny.
That is funny because I feel like I've worn Balance a lot and not had that same response. However, the biggest response I've ever had with an oil and then my current dog, when we were recording the Vanilla podcast, Madagascar Vanilla, I simply was sitting at my desk and opened the bottle and he's usually laying at my feet. And next thing you know, his head is like up between my legs trying to smell this bottle. And so I bring it down by his nose just to see if that's what he wants. And sure enough, he is all over it. And then I was doing a reel, adding that and I think On Guard for spice diffuser blend. And sure enough, he comes hauling butt over there with his nose all in my face, trying to smell the bottle as much as she can. He loves vanilla. Like that is his favorite. And I came across that is a calming scent for dogs too. So he doesn't seem to mind Balance, but vanilla, that's his thing.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So dogs also don't like certain oils. And we noticed this with our dog Hannah, especially when she was younger. She would have like these wild streaks, but she's also lazy. So she'd be like really wild for about 5 minutes and then wear herself out. But when people came over, it would be a little much. And we would pull out straight lavender and she would run from it. And it's funny because it was like she knew that it would calm her down. But if we could catch her, put it on her, she would like instantly calm down. But she was like, no, I don't want to be calm. So she would run from it. For some reason, she was okay with Serenity, which has lavender in it. I guess the other oils she wasn't as scared of. It's like straight lavender. She's like, don't you drug me. I need to be wild right now. It's so funny.
That is
it
funny.
Worked. Yeah, it definitely worked, but she did not want it to work.
So On Guard is safe to use around dogs, but when I apply On Guard to myself, my dog wants to come be near me like always. And then when he gets close enough, he will back up and start sneezing. So something in On Guard doesn't agree with him.
That's funny.
So I don't think I would use that one on him, even though On Guard is safe to use with dogs. I think let's go over a list of just kind of the most common safe oils with dogs. So if I was not going to use On Guard, Stronger, the kids blend for immune support is a great substitute for that. Just an easy, quick reference list of oils that you and I have used and that is safe to use. Frankincense, lavender, Balance, copaiba, digestin, On Guard, helichrysum, myrrh, Roman chamomile, the kids blend Calmer, and then the kids Stronger are all ones that are really easy, safe oils to use. And you and I both have experience with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I know you guys love diffuser blends. And so we came up with a Peaceful Pup diffuser blend that you could use just to make it more of a peaceful setting for your dog. But it's just a blend of lavender, copaiba, and Balance. And not only will it smell great and be peaceful for the humans in the room, but it's really great for the dog as well.
When we talk about diffusing, we've talked about a wide variety of things, but there are a couple oils that you do need to be cautious with when diffusing around dogs. To me, the key with diffusing around dogs or any pet is to make sure that you're diffusing in a well-ventilated room and don't shut the door and make them stay in the room with the diffuser going on high with lots of drops in it. I think if you follow those precautions, I have diffused these oils in the room where he's at, but it's a big open room and he can always walk out if he is uncomfortable with it. But those couple of oils that you need to have a little bit of caution with are tea tree, cassia, cinnamon, oregano, and thyme.
Yeah. And we do the same thing. Just, animals are smart. They have really good instincts. If it's not for them, they'll go in a different place. Or in Hannah's case, if she just doesn't want to calm down, she'll run away from it.
And I want to say one more thing that you had mentioned before we started. Our stress impacts our pets. Yeah. They can feed off of that. And eventually that stress for them can impact their immune systems. Bigger picture, it can affect our immune systems too. But a lot of the oils that are calming for them are also calming for us. And I've talked a lot about how I will apply oils topically to myself as a walking diffuser for my kids. That also applies to pets. So if your dog's getting stressed, you may be stressed and you might be putting that off without even realizing it. So applying oils that are calming, frankincense, lavender, Balance, copaiba, all of those types of things to yourself and then being around your pet could be helpful too.
Yeah. Well, and as you're saying that, I'm thinking about so many people treat their pets better than they treat themselves, like diet they feed their pets so much better than they would ever feed themselves, pay attention to the ingredients. And again, like your health, you have to take care of yourself if you're going to take care of others, including your pets. So if you love your dog, then love yourself as much and treat yourself well. Use the fancy oil if it's going to make you feel better, I feel a little bit like this has been a rambling podcast and we've packed a lot of information in here, but I'm sure you probably still have more questions. So I do want to encourage you that if there's questions you have that we didn't answer, there's a chance we don't know the answer. So definitely check out the resources that we recommended. But also you can always join our Ask Us Anything call, which is the third Thursday of any month. And you can also just connect with us on social media or, through our website, however you want to reach out to us. And we'll do our best to help you. But we obviously are not vets, and all we can speak to is our personal experiences. But we would love to help you and support you. But let us know what you thought of this episode and give us some feedback. We definitely appreciate it. Heather, anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I love having access to oils, and my dogs have always loved oils too. They know what they like and they know what they don't like. So
yeah,
go ahead and feel comfortable using most oils around them. I think people are scared to put stuff in the diffuser. For the most part, if it's a well-ventilated room, go for it. Diffuse what you want. They can walk away.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We will have a brand new episode for you next Friday.
Thanks for tuning in. For more information, you can follow these bottle poppin' ladies at bottlepoppinpodcast.com. Tune in next week to learn about what bottle we're poppin'. Until next time, take care. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This podcast is not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease.